folks, the Filipina P here. And if you're considering a Filipina as your next partner, you might want to be sure of one thing first, that she's single. Because we have no divorce here, we have an unusual situation that's left millions of women in limbo, still legally married, but with husbands they sometimes haven't seen in decades. So what does this mean to you folks? And why do you need to be concerned about it? Well, as always, it's my job to spot the potholes in the road and warn you about the dangers you're not familiar with as a Westerner. Our culture and laws are different here. And as they say, forewarned is forearmed. So just sit back and let me fill you in on what to expect if you decide to set your sights on a married Filipina. I want to start out by mentioning something that drives me crazy. When I do a video about scammers, I get a bunch of messages saying, "You're making Filipinas look bad. We're not all scammers." Even though I explain I'm not talking about all Filipinas, I'm just warning you how to spot the ones that are fake. When I did the video on single moms, I got a lot of nasty comments about how I'm denigrating Filipinas with children. Although I made it clear that I wasn't attacking single mothers. I was just explaining how the culture here has a few extra things to consider when dating them. Things that are different from your home country. So tonight, I'm sure I'm gonna get all sorts of hate for warning you about the dangers of dating a married Filipina. But it's for the same reason. There are things you guys need to know that could get you in trouble here. Things that might be perfectly acceptable in the West, but can turn ugly in this part of the world. You can go to jail or be extorted if you mess around with the wrong woman in the Philippines. It's not all that common here, but it does happen. So consider me like your lifeguard. I see a shark in the water that I want to warn you about, but I'm not saying we should close the beach. So please, stop posting things like, "P, you just talked me out of dating a Filipina." That's not the right conclusion at all. The risks I'm going to talk about are manageable, if you know the facts. So how did the Philippines get into this mess with all these separated but still married women running around? Well, first of all, marriage is a big deal here. Almost every Filipino wants to get married, and unfortunately, many of us decide to walk down the aisle in our late teens and early 20s, when we're barely out of our childhood ourselves. At that age, we're often too young to understand what relationships are all about. And obviously, neither do our Filipino husbands, who seem to be talented magicians with the ability to disappear at a drop of a hat. Many Filipinas find themselves with a marriage certificate and an empty bed when they're still in their 20s. So what then? As one of the only countries with no divorce, we find ourselves in marriage purgatory, unable to legally get away from our exes, but unable to start new, healthy relationships. The only available remedy is an annulment, which is the same thing as a divorce, but much more costly and time-consuming. An annulment can literally cost over $10,000 and take years in court to be processed. And not many people know this, but there's no guarantee they'll even be granted, even after you spent the money. Needless to say, most Filipinas can't even begin to afford it. So they just part ways with their husbands, resigned to the fact that they can never marry again. Unless they can meet a man who's willing to put in the time and money necessary to make the problem go away. Now, I know how easy it is to kind of fall into an instant relationship without consciously deciding to even have one. You meet a girl, you show her your place, she spends the night. Maybe you have a long weekend together. And since you're enjoying your time with her, you just let it continue. And who can blame you? In the West, it's not easy to instantly have a beautiful woman wanting to move in with you after the first date. But that's sometimes what happens here. But if you're going into this with your eyes closed, you can be headed for an unhappy ending. Now at this point, I'm once again obliged to point out that I'm not trying to say that all married Filipinas are just looking for someone to open their wallets and save them from their bad decisions. But there are some women out there who try to disguise their situation until you've become emotionally invested in them. So now I'm gonna show you what tactics they use. There are three main ways that a Filipino will let you know about her marriage status. Some women come right out and admit that they're married, although it's probably not something they featured on their dating profile. They don't try to hide it from you, but they might be hoping that you have no clue what a problem it could become in the future. They just put the issue on a shelf like many Filipinos do, thinking they'll deal with it later, a later that never comes. The second group of married women are the ones that flat out deny they're married, figuring their husbands have been out of the picture so long that you'll never find out about it. They'll advance your relationship as far as they can, so that by the time you discover the truth, you'll be so emotionally and maybe even financially invested that you can't just walk away. I know a lot of you guys are saying, oh hell no, I'd be walking away so fast I wouldn't leave a shadow. But you'd be surprised how many men, once they're deeply in love, will just bite the bullet and play Captain Save a whole lot of heartache by agreeing to finance the annulment. But then you get to the third strategy, which is the most despicable of all. It's rare, but you'll probably see people in the comments section that have experienced it. Sometimes, a married Filipina and her husband will purposely target an unsuspecting foreigner and lure them into a relationship with the wife so they can extort money from him. Because here in the Philippines, adultery is not only illegal, but punishable with prison time. Even if a woman's been separated for years, when you have an intimate relationship with a married Filipina, it's still adultery. And even though a lot of foreigners don't worry about this inconvenient fact, all it takes is someone looking to make some money out of the situation, and you're in big trouble when a case is filed against you. And sometimes it's just the husband, on his own, that might hear a rumor that his wife is dating a foreigner. Now you folks know how fast gossip travels here, so everyone in town knows exactly who's dating whom. Maybe it's some of his family or his friends that see you together. But trust me, it can be really hard to keep her husband in the dark about what's going on, and how he reacts to the news is anyone's guess. Now, if he reacts angrily for some reason, please be aware that we have a crime of passion law here, where if someone catches their spouse in a compromising position and happens to kill them in a fit of rage, he won't be prosecuted for murder. Cases like this may be very rare, but is it worth the risk? Then there's the famous annulment scam, where a woman tells you how much she wants to share her future with you, if only she wasn't married. If your relationship has progressed to a deep level of commitment, you might be tempted to send her the money to take care of it. Of course, in some cases, the money and the woman are never seen again. By this point, you might be thinking, this sounds scary as hell, but what can I do about it? What if she lies to me and I have no way to know that she actually has a husband? Well, fortunately, there are some simple things you can do to protect yourself, both immediately and long term. First, use your big head before you get in too deep. Ask questions. Listen to the things she says about her past relationships, and look for the presence of a hidden hubby. Keep any emails or text messages where she claims she's single. If you don't have any, ask her to send you one, or make a voice recording of her telling you she's not married. I know it sounds unromantic, but it can be used as a defense, because being misled about your girlfriend's status means you're off the hook on charges of adultery. Now that's something you can do right away, until you have time to ask her for a Sanumar form, which is a certificate of no marriage. For just about 200 pesos and about half an hour, a Filipina can go to the PSA, the Philippine Statistics Authority, and get a document that will definitively answer the question about her current status. Ask to see her government IDs as well as the Sanumar to be sure that the names match. And don't buy any excuses about, that's my nickname, or I use a different family name. If it's properly done, all the names will match, and you'll be in the clear. Now, assuming that the Filipina you're interested in is being honest, and she tells you upfront about being married, What should you do about it? Does it instantly mean the end of your relationship? Well, I can't answer that one for you. And I realize that there are a lot of guys out there who are dealing with this question right now. Is she worth the hassle and expense of the annulment process? I guess some women are, and some aren't. That's up to you. As I said, a lot of guys just don't worry about it because her estranged husband is far away or he started another family. You can certainly roll the dice like that, but most of you guys want to do things by the book, and I don't blame you. So if you decide to pay for an annulment, I strongly suggest that you become involved in the process. Deal with her attorney yourself. Look over all the documents and court pleadings, as well as the cost. If you can pay the attorney directly, there's less chance of some of the money being rerouted to other things, like her mom's sari-sari store or her brother's dreams of a pig farm. But as I said in the video about single moms, if a married woman is someone you don't want to deal with, it's easier to just screen them out before you get attached. The problem is that you guys sometimes get fixated on the woman you're chatting with. And when you finally find out what a headache it is to go through the process, it's too late. And instead of cutting your losses and running, you choose to stay in the relationship. Now, I admire your loyalty, but wouldn't it have been better if you just chosen a single woman to begin with? If you find out right away that she's married, then you can make your own decision. But if she hides it from you, and you discover it later on, I really don't know the logic behind sticking it out. She lied to you. So in my book, you're not morally obligated to continue the relationship. And of course, it begs the question, what else is she lying about? In that case, don't try to fix things. Just save yourself and run. But to all those thousands of guys that fell in love with a married Filipina, help her to freedom, and discovered how wonderful Filipinas can actually be, I applaud you. You've done something most sane men don't do these days, and I'm sure that the woman you're with knows what an amazing guy she's got. Hopefully we can pass the new proposed divorce legislation, which was designed to eliminate this exact problem. I'm not pro-divorce, but there has to be some provision to solve this impossible situation, where women are trapped in expired marriages, which is good for no one. Until that happens though, my advice to you guys is to make your very first communication with a new Filipina go something like this. Hi, my name is Bob. Are you legally married? Well, that's it for today. And I hope you learned something new about the way things work here, so you have a better idea of what to watch out for. And I'll be back in just a few days as I get all the girls together again with a new topic for discussion. It's gonna be fun. Till next time, folks. Do we cheat him and how? May I help you?
Yes, I'm calling about my girlfriend's annulment. It's been 4 years and we still don't have it. How can we speed this up?
Well, for 80,000 pesos, I can offer you the express service. That'll make it twice as fast.
Twice as fast as what?
Twice as fast as it was gonna take.
Well, how fast is that?
I have no idea, sir, but for an additional 40,000, I might be able to find out.
What? That's robbery.
A robbery case? Those are handled by our affiliated law firm, Loose Case and Hyde. Would you like me to transfer you?
No, I don't. I just want to know how to get out of this.
Well, the best advice is don't date a married woman. Now, lawyers don't give free advice, but I'm only charging you 1,000 for that because it's kind of obvious. What else can I do for you?
Lady, we're finished here.
We are? Great. I'm so glad we could help. Have a nice day. Just one last thing before you go. If you think about it, I'm kind of like your bartender, listening to your comments and questions, giving you advice when I can, and brewing up some intoxicating content for your enjoyment. The only thing I ask in return is a small tip in the form of a thumbs up on this video, subscribing to my channel, sharing this video with friends, and hitting the notification bell so you know when your next round has been poured. I promise, it'll only take 10 seconds to do, and your tip will make my day. You wouldn't want to shaft your bartender, would you? And for last call, why not enjoy some of my other videos too? See you real soon!